This video is going to talk about how we can actually add rules to the MyGeotab portal. So the first thing that we're going to do is move to the rules and groups portion and actually click on the rules, and all of the template rules will then show up, which will also allow me the ability to make edits or changes. If it's the first time you're in the portal, you might notice a lot of the rules are turned off. If you already had rules set up, you can actually go in and adjust them. You'll notice a lot of them are on. We'll talk about how to turn some of them on and off depending on what you're doing. In this case, there's a lot of different rules here depending on what you're looking at. Keep in mind, if you're on the base program, you're still going to see some of the pro version rules. You can turn them on and off, but they actually still won't do anything. So for example, if you're running base, this harsh braking, acceleration, and cornering, all these rules will actually still be visible to you. They actually just won't work even if you turn them on. That might be one difference that you'll notice. The point of these rules, though, is using the accelerometer in the device to be able to monitor how the vehicle moves and travels throughout the day. Really looking at two different things: driver behavior, as well as maybe wear and tear on the vehicle. Maybe I want to generate a report that shows me all of my harsh braking and acceleration events over the course of a month for all my vehicles. And that way I know what drivers I might need to coach, as well as vehicles that might be more susceptible to additional wear and tear. Maybe I'm burning through more brake pads, rotors, tires, if I'm having these events happening more often on some vehicles. If I need to make adjustments on these harsh braking rules, I can move my slider through all the different sizes of vehicles, and really all I'm doing here is picking the vehicle profile. At the lowest end of passenger car, you're down to the smallest profile there really is. So maybe something like a Toyota Corolla or a Ford Focus, something like that. As you start moving up, you'll notice there's actually 3 levels of sensitivity inside of each major category. So now maybe we're getting into more of a sedan and possibly even maybe a vehicle like a small or light pickup truck, depending on how heavy they are, up to maybe a minivan or something to that degree. Then you can move into the truck. F-150s, 250s fit well into here, 350s, maybe a small box truck, something to that effect, all the way through to large box trucks to semi trucks. A lot of different options here. Really all you're doing is setting how sensitive the accelerometer can be. The larger the vehicle, or the heavier the vehicle weighs, the larger that profile is, the more sensitive the device becomes. So if you're also wondering, well, I have F-250s maybe in my fleet here, but I noticed that they're actually having some of these alerts happen maybe a little too often. Maybe the device is just a little too sensitive on this setting. You can always back it down a little bit, knowing that you're going to make the device a little bit less sensitive as you move it down, maybe kind of pulling out some of the additional noise you might be seeing in some of those exceptions. Just a couple of things to do to kind of tweak and edit. Anytime you make a change here, just always make sure you click Save, and this will allow you to make sure that all that data stays in the system. You'll notice every rule will also give you a description of what's going on, as well as you actually have some additional features here. There's a little icon here that looks like a pencil that's actually a template rule that you can use to go in and create additional templates. I will cover that in just a moment on how you can use that specifically. That gets more into some of our customized rules. You can also add some notifications. So if I click on this envelope icon, there's going to be a couple of different options that show up here. The first one, which is probably the most common that people see, is going in adding an email address. I can click Add, and then I just need to make sure I hit Save here to save that. Now, anytime I have a vehicle that breaks this harsh braking rule, this user is going to receive an email about this event, probably giving vehicle and date and time and so on. It's important to note that the real idea of the email notification is to really generate some type of action. If you're going to instantly call the driver to let them know, that's great. You just need to be able to make sure that you can do that for any vehicle that has this show up. So if you're getting 30 or 40 of these in a day, it might be a little more than what you're ready for. If you just turn the rule on, these report information items will show up in the exceptions report. So that way you can actually see this data in a report at the end of the day instead of having to get 50 or 60 emails throughout the day. I recommend that you set up the email alert really for the main rules that are going to require a little bit more care, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. So maybe I want to remove this email address, which I can do. Another thing to add is under the add email portion, it will only allow you to add emails for users that are in the system. If you have any questions about how to add users, you can watch that video as well. But this is a really great way for you to go in and make sure the right people are getting notified. But again, you will also be controlled by security, that you can't just go in and add any random email address that you want. They have to be part of the user group already. The next thing you can do is set up a MyGeotab alert. These are actually pop-ups that can happen on the screen, maybe for your dispatchers, somebody who's constantly viewing the system. Really great way to be able to have all that data show up. Under Add Driver Feedback, this is something that's kind of unique to GeoTab, is that they actually provide feedback options for your drivers. So now when maybe a harsh braking takes place, the device is going to beep 3 times and let them know, hey, I've actually been involved in something where the event that I took place in was breaking the policy and I need to pay attention. Kind of that Pavlov's dog to some degree. You can change this and you can modify this at any time. Maybe you're only doing this for the next 30 days and then you want to remove it. You can just highlight and hit delete and then just make sure you hit save. The big thing here is that when you're adding some of these alerts, that you're letting the drivers know, hey, the device is going to beep at you if you're not wearing your seatbelt, if you're engaged in a harsh braking event. The idea here is for you to pay attention. It's pretty difficult for a driver to know what to fix if you haven't told them what the beeping is going to be for. Something to keep in mind there. One other comment I will make, going back into Add Driver Feedback, you'll see there's an option here for text message. Some people might be confused that this is actually sending a text message to a phone or a handset or a tablet. It's actually sending a text message to the Garmin device. So if you are using Garmin for routing or dispatching, this will actually have an option show up on the screen and tell the driver you broke the harsh braking rule or you were involved in a speeding event, and that way they can see that show up visibly as well. A couple of different options there, but at least you understand text message is really for Garmin, not for a standard cell phone. A lot of different rules that are in here: harsh braking, acceleration, cornering, speeding. Another great one. You just have to set up your speeding profile to be able to identify how fast you want the vehicles to be able to travel over the posted limit. Best way to do that is probably just go in and change the value and hit save. For seatbelt, this is going to be a really great way for you to be able to actually read what the driver is doing with their seatbelt. With newer vehicles, with newer diagnostic ports, you can actually read all of that information so we know exactly when the seatbelt is being turned on and off. Again, you can add notifications to these as well, maybe beeping to some degree. Scrolling down a little bit more, possible accident. This is really going to be a big rule that you're probably going to want to go and add an email address to. It's not only monitoring airbag deployment, but it's monitoring those low speed events. So even if maybe the device is involved or the vehicle is involved in a low speed event, maybe the vehicle's turned off and sitting in a parking lot and somebody backs into it. This way you can sit there and actually get an email that would show up and tell the driver or tell the manager that one of their vehicles was involved in an accident. Maybe they need to reach out to them, make sure they're okay. Or maybe you want to use this rule to identify events where maybe the driver has had an accident, the bumper's falling off, and it's never been reported. A couple different options there. Again, always remember to hit save if you're going to lock in these notifications. Some of the other ones, idling, so you can set your time here for being able to monitor how long vehicles can be running before they need to be turned off. It's important to note that idling is also looking at gear position. This way you can actually monitor true idling versus waiting for a light to turn green. A lot of different functions there. Again, this is probably another good one to add a beeping alert to, but letting the driver know what that time limit is. A lot of times 5 minutes goes by pretty quick when maybe you're filling out paperwork or eating your lunch with the radio and the air conditioner on, depending on what that is. And if you're worried about idling and letting vehicles warm up in maybe the colder months of the year, you can actually just go in and change this number anytime you want and resave it. So maybe the winter months it's 10-15 minutes. Summer it might be 5, something like that. You have a lot of options here. A lot of these rules under productivity are going to be based on setting your work hours or some type of hour schedule, and then maybe including some type of zones, looking at the office zone or the home employee zone. If you're trying to make sure your employees aren't stopping at home during their work hours, you can set that up. A lot of different features here. Scrolling down a little bit more, fleet idling is going to allow you the ability to go in and actually monitor idling at maybe your office parking lot or your office location to make sure that they're not burning additional fuel there when they're filling out paperwork. They're turning it off and coming it inside. That's why you'll notice the value there is actually a lot less. Check engine light coming on. This is a really great one to be able to go in and add an email address to. This way you can make sure that your managers are receiving this notification, and that way they can log in and look at the engine data to check and see exactly what type of information is happening on that vehicle. You can even set it up so the email is containing the diagnostic code and a description of that code, so you know exactly what's going on when you get the email. Another really great one to have that email notification for. Monitoring battery drain and those types of things are all going to be around the Pro package as well. Unauthorized device removal. This is probably the last one I really recommend for adding an email address, letting you know if you actually have devices that are being tampered with in the field. A really great option there. Some of these other ones regarding engine abuse, looking at RPM levels and backing up when leaving, you can set these values to be whatever you want. The big thing is maybe you want to actually go in and adjust this engine abuse rule. So this gets into our little template icon here I was talking about earlier. So let's say that maybe I'm running vehicles where 7,000 RPMs is just never going to happen. I'm more worried about 3,000 RPMs. Maybe that's the rule I want to be concerned about. But this rule is kind of locked in at 7,000. Can't really change it. But I can take a template and make that parameter change to what I want. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I want to go after a 3,000 RPM level. I can click on my little template icon here, this little pencil. And my screen's going to change, and now it's going to tell me custom engine abuse. Now what I actually will do is I will come in here, remove the custom portion. It's pretty straightforward. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go 3,000 RPM plus. Anything over that's going to violate this rule. If I want to make this for a specific set of vehicles in my organization, I can do that. Maybe I've broken them down by organization or so on if necessary. So I can go in and apply that. Maybe I want to make that for all my south vehicles. I can come in here and add any notes I want. Whatever I need. I can go into the condition, and now you'll notice there's a whole bunch of code information in here, and I can't really click on it to change it, but I can see that I've got 7,000 RPMs here, and I need to make these adjustments. I can actually go up to my little paper icon here, and I'm actually going to see code come down. It looks pretty scary, but really all I have to do is identify the part of the data I want to change. So I just want to change it to 3,000 RPMs, and you'll notice that value is changed there. Now you have to be careful about what you're doing. I will also recommend this might be a great place to engage your trainers to be able to walk you through some of these items. But it just shows you that I can actually go in and make a change here. And maybe I want to even go as far as to have an email added. Maybe I want to plug in an email when these events happen. I can hit add, and now I can save this entire rule. And where I'm going to find this new rule is actually at the bottom of my list. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom here. And now you're going to see engine abuse for 3,000 RPMs plus. My notes will notify a vehicle travels over 3,000 RPMs, and I've got it applied to the south group. One thing to keep in mind here is if you are doing some of these rules, it will be helpful to identify how you can actually view these by different groups. If you have multiple groups assigned, you're probably going to want to break those out. In this case, maybe I want to come back in and say, well, maybe I just want to make it for my entire fleet. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit yes. I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And that way I can see my rules for the entire organization. Now if I have a 3,000 and a 7,000, maybe I want both. Maybe 3,000 is kind of a warning for me. When I get to 7,000, that's something that I really need to be paying attention to. Or maybe I don't care about 7,000 RPMs anymore whatsoever. It's never going to be an issue for me. I can actually just go and turn the rule off. And when I do that, what it's going to tell me is, are you sure you actually want to do this? If you turn this off, any of the devices that have previously logged this as an issue or an event in the past will be deleted. So what I can do is I can actually go and I'm going to hit yes. The reason why I'm not so concerned about this is because the next thing I can actually do is down the road, if I really want to look into my 7,000 RPM rule, I can turn this back on. I can scroll back up to the top, and I can actually go into reprocess data. Maybe I want to go back to some custom time parameter. Show me the last month's worth of data for maybe all my vehicles, and I'll just go entire organization. and I can hit apply. And now what's going to happen is, even though I deleted all my rule information for 7,000 RPMs, I'm actually adding it all back in now, and the system can go back and add all of that. So don't feel so worried that you're going to actually delete a rule and lose all the data. You can always go back, turn the rule back on, and use reprocess data at any time. Now what I can also do is I can scroll back down, and I can take my engine abuse rule, turn it on. In this case, I'm just going to remove it. Same question is going to pop up here. Do you want to remove the rule? And I'm going to hit delete. Again, I could always go back and create that rule if necessary. But the nice part of this little pencil icon here is I can take essentially the format structure of that rule, whether it's RPMs or harsh braking or something like that, and kind of tweak and edit it, and then maybe turn another rule off. There will be another training video that will actually talk about how to do some customized rules, maybe sending an email when somebody enters into a zone, something to that effect. So you can actually go and pull up customized rules and watch that video. The last thing I'll mention here is this is also a great place for you to go and ask additional questions about rules if you're not really sure how they're being set up, or if you want somebody to verify or just kind of look over the work that you've done. Our chat support session is always a great way to do that. You can engage with our support reps and our trainers. Maybe you want to schedule a call with our trainers. You can also make that request here as well. A really great option for you to be able to go and gain some quick information.